Hello, everyone, and welcome back to JaianMusic Notes. I am your host, JaianMusic, an anime music YouTuber, and this is the podcast where we just nerd out about anime music. So excited to have you on today. We're diving into one of the most revolutionary soundtracks in anime history. Last week, we talked about Cowboy Bebop, just overviewed the discography. Here we're just kind of gonna get into there's not as many musical releases for this one, but there's still a lot of interesting material I want to digest with you all. Let's talk about it. Samurai Champloo. Back in 2004, the director Shinichiro Watanabe, fresh off the legendary Cowboy Bebop, wanted to create something that felt alive, something raw, something that breathed rhythm. And to do that, he built an entire show around two worlds that I can't believe got mixed so well together: the Edo period in Japan and hip-hop culture. And what came out of that fusion wasn't just another anime. It was, like I said, musical revolution. A revolutionary soundtrack. A bold statement that anime music could be as culturally alive and socially expressive as any other global art form. And at the heart of that sound was a group of producers who redefined what anime could sound like. Nujabes, Fat John, Tsuchida of the Shaka Zombie, and Force of Nature. When you listen to Samurai Champloo, you don't just hear background music. No. You feel a lived-in world. The scratch of the vinyl, the hiss of the analog tape, and the warm hum of jazz chords layered into those taiko-inspired percussion, that lo-fi texture, and it's the sound of imperfection that made it so perfect. The meeting point between groove and emotion. And before we get into any of that more, let's thank the sponsor of the podcast, Laser Audio Technologies. If you are a producer, a composer, or even just a music fan looking to elevate your music production game, Laser Audio offers high-end creative effects plugins for you. And the best part, you can get 30% off your next purchase by using code JaianMusic. Every purchase of that code supports the podcast and goes right back into the show, such as GoPro Kyo, who does all of the artwork. So thank you for listening, sharing, and keeping my music analysis alive. Okay, Samurai Champloo. Let's talk about the sound that shaped a generation. Samurai Champloo didn't just have good music. It had identity. I talk about identity a lot on these shows as of late. Because just think about Battle Cry. Tone is set immediately. The opening of it. It's poetic, confident, and just so rhythmically charged. And has that unmistakable mix of melancholy and groove. With the raps from Shing 02, sharp like an edge of a samurai sword. And that line became honestly the thesis statement of the entire show, of every single battle. Every note in Samurai Champloo feels like it's part of the same duel between tradition and rebellion. So let's talk about the major sonic architects. We had Nujabes, so Seba Jun, the soul of the soundtrack, in my opinion. Pieces like Aurorian Dance, Mistline, and Shiki no Yuta, just blends of jazz, hip-hop beats, and introspective melodies that define emotional storytelling through pure groove. Just pure groove. Like the use of the Rhodes piano, that airy reverb, that tape saturation that gives the series is texture, just incredible. We had Fat John, his compositions like First Samurai, How You Feel, A Space in Silence, bring in that subtle, extra rhythmic layering and understated musical work. He gives the score a calm counterpoint to the show's violence, but he also gives it gives it life. Such life. It's phenomenal to listen to. And then Force of Nature, an experimental duo, the work on Just Forget, Night Shift. It just bridges the lo-fi aesthetics with the hip hop, with the atmosphere turned into rhythm, just giving Shampoo like urban melancholy. Together, these artists, they didn't just write the music, they just built like a universe of sound. So unlike traditional anime scoring, Shampoo breaks every rule. Shampoo is just different. Samurai Champloo is so different. It wasn't orchestrated to match every scene's emotion. Instead, the music just led the narrative. Like the music, kind of like how I talked about with Simon on, what was that film that we broke down together? It was the one film we did together. So, I just love Google AI. I can literally just type in JaianMusic Notes Cyberpunk, and it just says, JaianMusic Notes refers to the JaianMusic Notes podcast, which features a recent episode dissecting the cyberpunk masterpiece score of Ghost in the Shell by Kenji Kawai. In that episode, what I mentioned to Simon was that the music was its own character. And so, to me, because the music led the narrative, just like a character, the music was its own character, in my opinion. Scenes were often edited to the rhythm, dialogue sinks to swing, sword fights follow musical patterns, and every episode breathed in tempo. This was such a crazy idea to me in 2004. 2004, moving like this, insane. Most anime music emphasized melody, but Samurai Champloo emphasized texture, space, the silence became groove, minimalism became storytelling, and there's nothing more profound than that for this show, in my opinion. Watanabe and Nujabes both believed music shouldn't follow emotion. It should create it. That's why Samurai Champloo could feel cool one second and then deeply spiritual in the next. It's jazz philosophy in anime, from freedom to improvisation to total impermanence, like complete impermanence. Like this little bit here is just to give you a taste, an idea. Like, I just encourage you so hard to go listen to the soundtrack. If I get you to go listen to the soundtrack, I did my job right. That's how I see it. But you can't talk about Samurai Champloo without talking about its cultural bridge. It introduced global audiences to Japanese hip-hop and made international fans fall in love with lo-fi beats, as far as I can tell. And as far as my opinion, of course. Years later, you can hear its DNA everywhere. In lo-fi study playlists, in anime AMVs with vinyl crackle filters. It embraced such beautiful and different musical approaches. So for many fans, me included, Samurai Champloo was my first exposure to Nujabes, whose influence grew even later on his passing in 2010. Today, his name sits along legends in the beat culture. His sound just is uncomparable in that sense. Like Nujabes is amongst the greats. In conclusion, decades later, Samurai Champloo remains a masterpiece. It's more than a soundtrack, a philosophy. Like I said, it taught us that rhythm can carry story, that imperfection is beauty, and that hip-hop and samurais were never opposites. They were reflections in a mirror. They have the same spirit of rebellion, expression, and freedom. So, thank you all so much for listening. A big shout out to Laser Audio Technologies for the sponsorship. A big thank you to everyone for listening to the show, for giving us 5-star reviews on your favorite podcatcher, for downloading the episodes, for following me on social media at JaianMusic, website JaianMusic.com. A big thank you to GoPro Keo for the artwork as always. So I'm Jaian, and this has been JaianMusic Notes. If this episode resonates with you, please share it. Tell me what your favorite Samurai Champloo track is. And until next time, keep listening closely. Bye.